Nicholas in Florida.
Hi.
Hi.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Good.
All right.
Hey, my question is basically the Kalam Cosmological argument. I'm sure you guys have probably heard it before.
Yep,
but
it's
before
wrong.
I start, before I start, I guess I might as well make sure both of you would subscribe to the Big Bang cosmological model. Would that be correct?
I think that it is the best known explanation of the expansion of the universe.
Given that neither of us is a cosmologist,
Right.
We accept the consensus view of the cosmologists.
Right. And also, you realize that the Big Bang is not treated as like the very first thing that ever happened.
Right. That's as far back as we could as we know so far.
To the Planck time, yes.
Right. So my question, I guess, would be, considering that it's not the first thing to happen, it would have a cause, I'm assuming?
Potentially.
What do you mean, potentially?
Well, when I say that it's not, first of all, there was a Planck time before that, so we can't tell exactly what happened before that. But there's one model of the universe that suggests that time and space came into existence simultaneously, and so the notion that there is a before at a certain point ceases to have any meaning. Right,
but would you agree that something, whatever that thing might be, or things, plural, or whatever it might be, the Big Bang at least would have had a cause?
You can't make that claim.
Yeah, that's the problem with the Planck time. We can't tell what was going on before that.
Would you say that based on everything we know about reality so far, it would be more plausible to say that there was a cause for the Big Bang?
Everything we know about reality so far has no resemblance to what was happening around the time of the Big Bang. So it barely makes sense to even speculate about that.
Yeah.
So would you say it's possible that the universe, whatever that might entail, and when I say the universe, I mean literally everything, which would be whatever that might be before the Big Bang or during it and after it, would you say it's possible that it infinitely regresses?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to check up on that, see what you guys thought of that. I guess as far as I could think, the infinite regression just doesn't seem to make any sense on any level. It seems...
But an infinite being does?
Yeah.
Well, see, yeah, that's something that's common with, it's sort of like, okay, the Big Bang, for example, or infinite universes compared to, well, if the infinite universe is ridiculous, then an infinite God would be ridiculous. Well, the difference, I kind of view it like this. We're talking about, they kind of leave out the fact that God is uncreated. So if you're talking about the universe, or
well, that's just special pleading.
Yeah.
If you agree, if you're saying at the outset that there is something uncreated or uncaused, there is no particular reason to think that it's a God. You're saying that some things have that attribute.
But basically what I'm saying is that when it comes down to it, as far as any origin theory at all, as far as let's just say that religion isn't true, or let's just say that anything goes. Essentially, let's think of any possibility. In our wildest imagination, the only thing I can see that we're left with is either infinite regress, or for example, an infinite universe, which doesn't make sense on anything we know so far. Nothing adds up to there being an infinite regress. You come up with all kinds of issues like, okay, well, how is there...
Okay, everything you're saying right now about infinite regresses, I also think about God. So that isn't getting us anywhere.
Right, well, yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Let's say that we applied that to God. Well, you're left with infinite regress, which I'm assuming would be absurd.
So is God. So where are you going with this?
I'm trying to ask, basically, in your wildest imagination, if you could think of any ultimate origin or whatever, if you just kept going back in time, so to speak, would it be, and I'm not trying to do special pleading or try to say, oh, well, if it's more probable to believe in God, well, we should just believe in God. I'm not trying to argue that, but I'm just saying for the sake of argument here, would it be, which one is more well, I'll say which one is less ridiculous, I'll put it that way. a being who is uncaused and eternal, or us.
Why do you apparently have a problem with something infinite, but then in the same breath say that you don't think it's ridiculous at all for God to be infinite?
Because there's a difference between comparing God with the universe. The universe
What?
we know is not infinite regress. We know
No,
that
our
it has a beginning,
specific,
at least as far as
our specific part of the universe that we know. We don't know what else is outside the universe. It could be another universe for all we know.
as far as the entire universe itself would necessarily include everything that exists.
No, because there's two meanings of the term universe. When we talk about the universe that began with the Big Bang, we're not talking about the universe in the mathematical sense of like the universe of all numbers or something, the set of everything. I mean, you're conflating the two, and they used the same words. But the thing is, we don't actually know that the universe is all-encompassing.
As far as space and time are concerned, as far as the farthest knowledge we've gotten so far is that space and time started at some point.
This universe of space and time.
Which we have zero evidence of any other universe in existence.
Nor do we have any evidence of a God, so we're stuck.
Well, I'm not talking about again. I'm just talking very far. So
I'm doing a lot of talking. You want to take over for a minute?
No. Let's.
All right, Jen's enjoying
so
listening.
As far as basically what I'm saying is that right now our current level of knowledge is essentially that space and time itself, at least in this universe, I'll grant that at least, even though there's zero evidence for any other universe. But in this universe, at least space and time had a beginning. Well, if I were to just
I said that's one possibility.
If I were to presuppose, let's say, that God didn't exist, if I were to just smash that out, any sort of deity, any sort of ultimate being, in other words, anything that is uncaused and eternally backwards in time, forward, backward, just eternally existent, uncaused thing.
The spaghetti monster committed suicide.
If I were to just presuppose that did not exist or can't exist or whatever, and I were to try to think of any sort of explanation, ultimate explanation, in other words, for the universe. Let's say there was another. Here's what I'm saying basically. If there was another universe outside of this universe, or multiple universes or multiverses, I would still need an explanation for those multiverses. And if I had an explanation for that explanation, I'd need another explanation. At some point, what I'm saying is, at some point logically, you could only do one of three things basically.
So you feel that the best way out of this conundrum is to just make something up that has infinite properties?
I'm trying to get your view, but I want to finish.
We think it's absurd.
Yeah.
What else do we need to say? We think it's absurd.
We don't think God is a useful explanation.
I'm not talking about God yet. I'm about to ask your view of three possibilities, essentially for everything, like everything, the whole universe, multiverses, etc. Basically, the way I figure it, I can only think of three possibilities. There's the one would be that there is an infinitely uncreated first cause of everything. And this being, or whatever you would call it, just
why I wouldn't call it a being.
Or whatever, well, yeah, whatever. This thing, whatever it would be.
This thing.
Just this thing or things were the uncaused first cause, essentially. There's the one possibility. Well, let's just say that that's utterly ridiculous and throw that out. So what would we be left with? When I try to think of what we would be left with, I can think of two possible things. Okay, either the ultimate first cause thing is just something that started out of literally nothing, and by nothing I mean actually I don't mean it in the way that Krauss talks about, where he says, "Oh, nothing is." I mean what rocks dream about, basically nothing. So there's the two final possibilities would be either A, something started out of literally nothing and just spontaneously popped into existence. Which to me, on every level of imagination, that makes no sense for something to just spontaneously.
So which one of these options do you think God did?
What?
Which one of these options do you think God did?
I want to finish my.
No, I would like to hear an answer to that question.
Which one do I think God did?
Yeah.
I don't know what method or how God exactly would have
So you're
started it all.
uncomfortable with the idea of not knowing where the universe came from,
No,
but you are addressing that uncomfortableness by inventing another explanation which has the exact same problems as our lack of knowledge about the ultimate origins of the universe, right?
I don't think it's fair for you to not let me finish and then say what I believe about something when I haven't even told you what I believe. That doesn't sound very fair.
Well,
so
the thing is that when I talk to people advancing the Kalam cosmological argument, almost universally they are trying to promote a Christian God.
Yeah.
No,
But they come at this question with this sort of vague, I'm not really, I mean, it's like the intelligent design people saying, hey, I'm not talking about God, but nudge, nudge, it's really God.
Yeah.
No, I'm not trying to.
How else could it happen?
I'm not trying to convince you. I want to ask you your view on what the three possibilities would be. Basically, that's my questioning. Now, I'm still doing research on the whole, Big Bang theories things. I have a lot of research to do, so I don't want to say. Basically, I don't want to say my view if I haven't actually done the research yet. So I want to ask you guys what your opinion, I guess, with this. So again, the three possibilities have already gone. You could say the first theory would be God or some sort of ultimate infinite being that was uncreated, just eternally existed. The second possibility is that at some point in the past, or whatever our approximation of the past would be, whatever you want to call that, the ultimate final thing as far back as you can go, as far as anything goes, as far as multiverses, universe, the entire universe, everything, omniverse, the whole inclusive thing. Would
First cause, we got it. Yeah.
Yeah.
At some point, something just popped into existence. And then the third possibility is that the universe, or multiverses, or whatever you would call it, is infinite. It just infinitely regresses. Well, if you take out the first possibility, and then I'm assuming you would take out the final third one, because an infinite regressing universe or multiverses doesn't make sense in light of entropy.
I think you're mistaken here about our position. We haven't taken out any of those definitively. The answer is just we don't know and have no basis for making a decision between those things.
Yeah.
Okay, so which one would you say out of those three possibilities? Basically,
none of the above.
Don't know. That is really the answer.
Hang on, I'm not asking you which one you believe. I'm not asking that. I'm saying out of those. Could I want to finish the sentence, please. Out of those three possibilities, would you say that there's another possibility besides those three, or if not? Out of those three, which would you say is the more likely one, the most likely? And it doesn't have to be the first one, but in your opinion, what would be the most likely out of those three possibilities? And if none of those, do you have a fourth possibility, a fifth one, etc.?
The answer to all of those things is still don't know.
No. I'm not asking if you know. I know you don't know. I don't know
Yeah.
either. Let's just say for argument's sake,
look,
I don't know either.
There
I
could
have no clue, right?
look. I can speculate and make up answers the same as you, but I have no. I mean, like I could say there is actually a fourth possibility that I haven't thought of yet. Or I could come up with a fourth possibility that I could make up off the top of my head, as you're doing with God.
I'm not asking you to do that.
But, what you're asking me to do, basically, is tell you yes or no, those three possibilities that you've just listed are exhaustive. And the answer is, I don't know. There could be a fourth possibility. There could not be a fourth possibility.
I'm not asking you to give a definitive answer. I'm just asking, in your opinion, based on what you know so far at least, in your opinion, what would you say? I'm not asking you to agree with any of those.
I really don't have a position on this, and you can ask me all the different ways of rewording it that you can think of, but my answer is still going to be, I don't have a position because I don't know. That's it.
Okay, so you can't even give a guess on what would you personally think at the moment would be the most likely. You can't even say that.
Not really. Personally, I think God is the least likely of those, but that's personal preference.
Well, hang on a minute. If you can say that he's the least likely, then you've now just made the two remaining ones at least more likely.
No, we haven't.
You just said it's the least likely.
Slightly.
Well,
I don't know.
Rejecting one wrong answer doesn't mean that other possibly wrong answers are more likely.
He said least likely. That's a comparative term.
Of the three things you listed.
You're basically saying the two remaining ones are more likely in comparison to the first. So you now actually have made a judgment on it.
Okay.
All right, fine.
So what?
Okay. Well, I guess now that you've knocked out the first one at least.
No, I haven't knocked it out. I just said it's the least likely.
Sorry. Now that you've made the first one, you've made it clear that you think it's the least likely. Out of the remaining two, do you have an opinion on what the remaining two? Which one of those is more or less likely?
No.
Nope.
Nothing. No opinion at all.
Nope.
That's odd.
They may not even be they may not even be the only remaining options.
Well, yeah, I'm not saying they are the remaining options.
Okay.
There might be more. I'm just saying out of those two, what would you got? You have zero. You have absolutely zero opinion in any
Not only
way.
that, we're not even that interested in those two.
I'm not saying you are interested. I'm just asking.
Listen,
your opinion.
I have some change in my pocket. How much change does it add up to you? Do you have an opinion on that?
I would say I could make, if you gave me information about each, like the coins or whatever, I could make an approximation of what's more likely.
Good point.
Yes.
I'll give you.
But in the
I'll
absence
answer
of that
right now.
information, you don't even have speculation, right?
Could I answer the question then?
Okay.
I'll answer it right now. If you asked me what's more likely to be in your pocket, $1 million in change, $100 in change.
I'll narrow it down for you. It is between 1 cent and 99 cents. Now, which of those values do you think is the most? No, you can't.
Why? I don't interrupt you when you're talking. I want to just finish the sentence. I'm just saying, if you asked me if it's more likely for there to be $2, $100, or $1 billion in your
That's
pocket,
not the question I asked you.
What's the question?
I have an amount between 1 cent and 99 cents. Which of those things do you think is most likely?
And I think that analogy you're making is not applicable because it's not the same as an analogy that I was making with the three questions.
Well, that's true because we have even less information about the universe than you have information about coins in my pocket.
But you can use your brains and you can use the laws of logic and rules to approximate.
Can you use the laws
which
of
one is
logic
more
to
or
tell
less
me how
likely.
much change I have in my pocket?
And I think it's a false analogy. It doesn't apply to the question.
Well, not only that, but there are actually a finite number of guesses that you could possibly make about the amount of change Russell has in his pocket. Whereas I don't even know that we've narrowed down the possibilities for the questions you're asking.
Well, how about this? I'll skip the whole which one is more likely. Could I at least ask this? Do you think that it's possible that there would be, I guess. Do you think it's possible that there is an ultimate uncaused thing or things?
I think I'm going to go with Tracy's answer on this one, which is I don't even know enough to tell you whether it's possible or not.
Yeah.
It just seems a little weird that you wouldn't even be able to say it's a possibility. I mean, if you can't...
I don't know.
It just seems weird because, like, for example, somebody asked me, do unicorns exist? I would say no, but it's so incredibly unlikely that they might as well not exist. So I'd still be able to give an approximate. If they said, is it even remotely possible that unicorns exist? I would have to say, yes, it is remotely possible. I would never say, I can't have an opinion on that because I would have to at least grant that it's a possibility. So it seems a little weird that.
Well, the
that
search space for
for
unicorns is a lot smaller than the search space for God. I mean, you are, after all, talking about Earth, where there are generally multiple copies of any particular biological species.
Right.
So, I mean, we have a lot more information about unicorns than we have for this vague notion of God, which seems to be all over the place. Because, I mean, you know and I know that you're talking about the Christian God, but you won't even say that much. But yeah.
Let's clarify. What are your religious beliefs, Nicholas?
Christian.
Okay. Specifically, what flavor of Christianity?
Well, I'd be one of those people who would say I'm not any flavor. It's just biblical Christianity. Of course, you would immediately say, well, that's what a lot of different people say. But I guess the closest would be Reformed. What would it be called? What's the opposite of sort of a Protestant? Sorry, Reformed Protestant.
Catholic.
Yeah,
But
Catholic.
of course, the justification for being a Protestant, I would immediately argue, would be the biblical text and whatnot, and I would argue that Catholicism is opposed to the Bible.
Okay, we don't
on
see any
multiple levels.
particular
On
merit
every
in the
level.
biblical text, but
Yeah.
What did you say? What did you say?
I mean, since we don't see any particular merit in the biblical text, we don't consider people who say they're more biblical to be more or less Christian than other people. I
Yeah.
mean, you know,
I never said
that's
that.
kind of for you guys to work out between yourselves.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's an in-house debate.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway, thanks for taking my call.
Okay.
Yes.
Thanks for calling.
See you guys.
I
All right.
caused these flying spaghetti monster to commit
Yeah.
suicide, but
Poor spaghetti monster.